What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Blue Chip Prospect. Today, we are ranking every single rebuild in the NHL. I created 12 different cards for each team. Basically, we're going to be taking a look at their cap situation, their roster situation, their prospect situation, the contract situation, basically a little bit of everything. And from there, we'll be able to rank them in tier maker if they are the best rebuilds that might be on their way, rebuilds that might need a little bit of work, or some rebuilds that are just not it at all. So, yeah, let's start this right away. And if we start with the Anaheim Ducks right here and we switch page to go see that. First, the Anaheim Ducks, they finished 12th in the West last season with 80 points, which is not great whatsoever. There's no other way to put it. In terms of cap space, they have around 21 million. I created those cards like a couple weeks ago, so it might not be exactly it, but it's pretty close to it. Actually, if we check here, Anaheim Ducks, 20.5 million, so pretty close. And 57 millions projected in 26-27, and they only have 39 contracts with 17 expiring in 2 years. So the contract situation, the cap space situation is great. They have McTavish to sign, obviously, which will take a part of that cap space. But I don't think it's that much of an issue. But if we look at players that needs to be signed in the next couple of years, well, they're going to have to sign Ryan Pilling, but that's basically their fourth line center. Cutter Gauthier next year, Leo Carson next year. In terms of defense, Jacob Trouba is not really a problem. Radko Gudas is not really a problem. Jackson Lacombe is going to need a deal. Pavel Mintyukov is going to need a deal. Olen Zellweger is going to need a deal. So the next year is going to be a big year in terms of contract because a lot of their good players and up-and-coming players are going to have to sign a contract. But in the net, they signed Dostal for 5 years at 6.5 million. So the cap situation is pretty good. But starting next year, it's going to be a lot tighter than it has been in the last couple of years. In terms of roster, if we go here and we look at the roster, like, obviously those are projected line by daily faceoff, so we don't know if it's what it's going to be, but obviously we can still see the players anyway. We know they have Leo Carson with Cutter Gauthier and Alex Killorn. That could be a great first line. They have Mason McTavish that needs to be signed, but it's a 2C, and he can play with Troy Terry, Chris Kreider that they acquired. They have Ryan Strome, Michael Granlund that they just signed, Frank Vetrano, Ryan Poehling that they just got in the deal, which is, I think, in my opinion, a very, very good fourth line center with speed, with size, with defense. In the defensive pairings, Jackson Lacombe exploded last season, so really good player. Radko Gudas, I mean, we don't really care about him. Olen Zellweger, Pavel Mintyukov, maybe a little bit of a step back last year for Mintyukov, but I think he has what it takes to jump into a top 4 role. Yeah, he's a good player. Like, he has a lot of offense. He's a little bit shaky defensively, but I think he has the mind to get there and play top 4 role for the Anaheim Ducks. I don't think it's a problem. And Dostal in the net. So basically, it's looking really good for the Ducks. Also, they have some players coming up in the pipeline. They have players like here. What's his name? Why did I do that? Roger McQueen, Beckett, Seneca are all players that will be coming up. Tristan Luneau is coming up. They have Stian Solberg, Maxime Massé, Terrence Smith. Like, obviously, when you go under Maxime Massé, it's like players that might not play at all. But you can look at the list here. They have Nathan Gaucher. They have a lot of players coming up, and they already built a solid forward group and a solid defensive group. That team needs to take a step, but I mean, it's on the player. It's on the young players to actually start competing. But in the end, if we rank that rebuild, like with a defensive core of Jackson Lacombe, Mintyukov, Olen Zellweger, and then up front you have players like Cutter Gauthier, you have Leo Carson, Troy Terry, you have Seneca coming up, you have McQueen coming up. I think, I'm not sure if would we put them in the best rebuilds right now. I'm not sure because for now, like, I feel like they have the element. It's just not working for now. Maybe with the new coach, it's going to work much better. But we have to wait and see for that to happen. Like, was it a coach problem or was it just a team problem? That's the part that we don't actually know. For now, I'll put them in on their way, because we're just not sure if that defense is going to hold up, even though they have some good players in there, and because there's a lot of young players that we don't know where they are going to end up. So they are a very, very young team, and all their best future players are very young players. So they need to take a step, and we need to see where they are going to go before we can actually rank them as one of the best rebuilds. And the next rebuild to rank is the San Jose Shark right here. If we switch page here, we can see the San Jose Shark, they finished dead last in the NHL last year or 16th in the West with 52 points, which is horrible, and there's no other way to put it. In terms of cap space, well, they had 29 million at the time of writing this, but obviously now with Carey Price, they have like 18 million or so, but that contract is coming off the books next year. So it's really not an issue at all. And in 2 years, they are projected to have 70 million in cap space, which is ridiculous. At the time of creating that card, they had 44 contracts, but I think now they are like at 48 or 49 contracts, something like that, but 19 are expiring in the next 2 years. If we look at that roster, right here, obviously they have the star power with Macklin Celebrini, who's going to be a top 10, maybe even top 5 center in the NHL for the long run. They have players like William Eklund, who keeps taking a little bit of a step every single year. Is he a first-line winger? Absolutely not, but I think he's a good winger. He's a top 6 winger for sure. They also have Will Smith in there, who's going to be playing his second year, which is going to be good. They have Tyler Toffoli, who's really good also. Jeff Skinner, non-factor. Adam Gaudette, non-factor. Philip Kurashev. Colin Graff is pretty good. We'll see how it goes in the NHL, but I think he's a pretty good prospect. Same thing for Zach Ostapchuk. He's going to be a good fourth-line center, in my opinion. He's a big physical player. Barclay Goodrow, non-factor. Ty Dellandrea, non-factor. Alex Wenberg, it's okay. I mean, it's a good third-line center. And then on defense, they have Mario Ferraro, who's pretty good. Timothy Liljegren, who's not that much. Dmitry Orlov, who's pretty good also. John Klimber, who can move the puck but has some issues defensively. Shakir Mukamudalin, who could be pretty good in my opinion. I like that player, but he's a little bit all over the place. So it's hard to say. But in net, well, we know that they have Yaroslav Askarov. They also drafted that guy in the 2025 draft. I don't remember his name, but they drafted another goalie. So I think in net, they are set. That is not an issue whatsoever. And if we look at what's coming up, like obviously they have Celebrini and Smith already, but they just drafted Michael Misa second overall. They have Sam Dickinson, who put up ridiculous amount of points, like 90-something points in 50-something games in the OHL and like 30-something points in 17 games in the playoff. Like, crazy production, and the guy is a 6'3" player who can defend well, who skates extremely well. They have players like Igor Chernyshov, who came from the MHL/KHL to the OHL and did extremely well, and he was not carried by Misa. His playmaking took such a major step. It's actually astonishing to see it. Quinton Musty, who could be something, could also be nothing. Camlin, I think, is a very good player. They have Casper Aaltonen. They have a player like Philip Beisted. Joshua Ravensbergen is the player I was talking about that they drafted, the other goalie. So they have a lot of players coming. I like Nate Miskey. Luca Cagnoni was rough in the NHL, but very good in the AHL. We'll see if he can take a step or not. But I think players like Nate Miskey are going to play. Even Colton Roberts here. Really good players. They're probably more third-pair players than actually the actual top 4 players, but still you need those players. Obviously for the Sharks, like the offense is set, right? They have Celebrini, Misa, Smith, Chernyshov, Eklund, Musty, Camlin, Aaltonen. I think those are all players that have top 6 potential. They also already have, like we said, they already have Tyler Toffoli in there for the next 3 years or so. He's a really good player. So I think offensively, it's going to be really good. And whenever, like, if they lose a center to an injury, well, they always have 3 high-end center with Macklin Celebrini, Will Smith, and Misa. So it's going to be really good. The problem is probably on defense because they don't have much on the right side. Like, yes, they have Sam Dickinson coming up, but you cannot have only one top 4 player in your team. You need more than that. And if you take Dmitry Orlov, which is they just signed, he's signed for 2 years. Everybody else is only 1 year left on their contract. None of them are really like player of the future. Mario Ferraro could be really good though. So the defense is looking very rough in my opinion. That's going to be a problem because the thing is that offensive prospect, sometimes they take 1 year or 2 year and they can already be impact player at the NHL level. Defensive prospect is a different story. Sometimes they take 3, 4, and 5 years before they become impactful at the NHL level. Like, even if you take a player like the Canadiens, right? They drafted Ryan Backer like 3 years ago. We're not even sure he's going to play this year. Yes, he was injured last year, but he still played like 23 games in the entire season. The year before that, he played like 30, 40 games before that. And he's been playing pro for like 3 years. And we're not even sure he's going to play in the NHL because defense men just take more time to develop and to reach, not necessarily reach their prime, but reach a point where they can be impact player in the NHL and not just players that survive in the NHL. There's not a lot of Lane Hudson out there who can just thrive in their first year on defense. There's really just not that many. So that is going to be a problem for the San Jose Shark. They still have a lot of draft pick, and they're probably going to draft still very high because it doesn't look like a great roster for now. Or at least it's a bit too young to be a competitive roster, so they're probably going to be towards the bottom, but they're going to move the puck a little bit better. But because of that defense, even though I like the offense, they would probably be one of the best rebuild for the offense. But because of the defense, they cannot go there, and I will put them on their way. But as opposed to the Ducks, I think they are maybe a little step behind because they need so much on defense to actually have something solid over there. So yeah, that's it for them. I think they are on their way, but not one of the best rebuilds. But it takes like one draft pick to actually make them take that step to best rebuilds. And next rebuild to take a look at is the Utah Mammoth. If we look at the Utah Mammoth here, they finished 11th in the West last year with 89 points, which is really good because it's very close to the playoff. They had, at the time of making that card, they had like 1 million in cap space, but I think now they are like at 6 million or something around that. If we look here, yeah, so 6 million in cap space right now. They had 45 contract at the time, but now they have 47. But 13 contract expiring in the next 2 years. And if we look at the roster up front, they have Logan Cooley, who's on his way to be a star. Clinton Keller, who's already there. Dylan Ganther, who's going there too. Nick Schmaltz was really good. JJ Peterka is a very good offensive, dynamic player. Bert Ayton, who can lock it down and let JJ Peterka do his thing. Very good in the second line center. And then the bottom six is just okay, but Lawson Cruz and Jack Membane is there is really good. Alex Kerfoot is just okay. Brendan Tanev, Stenlund, and O'Brien is just okay. On defense, Mikhail Sergachev, which is really, really good player. I think he's basically the cornerstone of that defense. John Marino is really good too. Sean Dursey is fine. Oli Mata is nothing to write home about. Same thing for Nate Schmidt and Jan Cole. And in net here, they have... Karel Vejmelka, Vitek Beneček. So decent goalie. I think they would probably love to have a better goalie in net. But I think he did pretty good last season, if I'm not mistaken. But the NHL roster is definitely pretty good. But on top of that, they have players like Caleb Denoyer, who's going to come up in that lineup in a couple of years. They have player like Dmitry Simashev, who's going to come and lock down that defense defensively. Like big guys, 6'5", skates like the wind, super aggressive defensively. They have Tijinginla, who might play this season. Who knows? They have Maverick Lamoureux, who's going to play on their right side. Like that team is not only starting to be loaded in the NHL, they are also loaded in their pipeline. They have Daniel Booth, they have Michael Rodbrow, they have Baudouin, Artyom Duda, who took a little bit of a weird way to to the NHL. If he goes to the NHL, they just drafted Max Panishka too, so they have a lot of good player coming up, and they already have a good NHL squad. So that rebuild, in my opinion, because of where they are in terms of points last season and how competitive they are, and because they have many players who will take another step, like Dylan Gunther and Logan Cooley, I'm gonna put the Utah Mammoth in one of the best rebuilds. I think they are on their way to be contender, and they have so much coming up in the next couple of years that it is just going to be hard to play against them, and it's gonna be hard to win against the Mammoth. I think they are building something fantastic, so I put them in the best rebuilds for now. And the fourth rebuild to take a look at is the Detroit Red Wings. In terms of standing, they finished 10th in the East last year with 86 points, which is basically just 5 points behind the playoffs. So if they take a little bit of a step, they are basically going into the playoff. at least soon enough. In terms of cap space, if we go here, they have 10.3 million in cap space. They have 45 contract. They are expected to have $44 million in 26-27, so plenty of space to re-sign the players that they need to re-sign. They had 42 contract, but now they are at 45 contract, so this changed a little bit. But 12 contract expiring in the next 2 years. If we take a look at that roster, obviously, their first line center is Dylan Larkin, plays with James Van Riemsdyk. I'm not sure what he's doing on that first line. And Lucas Raymond. I think like Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond are definitely first line player in my opinion. And then after that, you have Marco Casper on the second line, who put up like something like 30 something points last year. Patrick Kane, who's in this last couple years. Alex DeBrincat, who's been really, really good for them too. After that, they have GT Comfer, Michael Rasmussen, Mason Appleton, Andrew Kopp, Soderblom, Bergen. So nothing like crazy in the bottom six, but I think they are some good players, but they also have some players that are coming up. On defense, you cannot have Ben Sherratt in your first line. It just doesn't work, but they have Moritz Seider. They also have Simon Edvinsson. So if they can either pair those two, and they will have a crazy pair, and then they have nothing down the bottom, or they can actually split the wealth and have a top player on the first line, have a top player on the second line, and like this, they are guaranteed to have at least two defensive pairing who can actually play at a high level in the NHL. And in terms of goalie, well, they just acquired John Gibson, which is, I think, a good step for them. They needed a good goalie. John Gibson is a good goalie. We'll see if he can stay a good goalie, but I think that was a good move by them. Also in the pipeline, when you look at it, they have players like Axel Sandin-Pellikka coming up. Like Axel Sandin-Pellikka is probably going to be more of a power play merchant and a 5v5 type of player in the NHL. I think he will be effective at 5v5. It's just I think that most of his point will be produced when he has space, and that will be on the power play. He has a crazy shot, so I think he's going to score many goals for them. They have Trey Augustine coming up, who's one of my favorite like goalie outside of the NHL. Marco Casper did really good. They just took Carter Bear, so obviously he's not going to play this year, but maybe in a year or two is going to be an aggressive, offensive player. They have Kosa, who's not necessarily working so well for now. They have Nate Danielson, who some people like, some people don't like that much. I think he's a middle six player. I don't think he's a top six sure shot type of player, but some people believe he is. Michael Brandsegg-Nygaard, who's going to be a hard player to play against, defensively sound player who can also be very physical and has a very solid shot. They have players like Dmitry Bochelnikov, Max Plant, who had a really, really good season in the NCAA. William Wallander. So they have some players coming up. I don't think they have any high-end player coming up. So the problem with that is that when you look at that roster, like Marco Casper, he's not going to be a point per game center, right? So Dylan Larkin is your best center. I think he's a good center. I think, is he a top first line center? Probably not, but I think he's like a second half first line center. And then the only real star on that team is probably Lucas Raymond, who can score as well as make plays, but he's like one. He's a top winger in the NHL. Like, he's not a David Pastrnak or a Kucherov or something like that, but he's a very, very, very good player in the NHL. Alex DeBrincat, same thing, but like he's a 5'8" player, so he's effective, but there's a limit to what he can do, and there's not really nothing coming up that's going to be like changing all that much in that top six. Like Nate Danielson, I think he's not going to take Marco Casper's spot. He's probably more of a 3 seed and a 2 seed in my opinion, but we'll see how it goes. And then Michael Brandsegg-Nygaard, yes, you can have him, let's say, on the side with Marco Casper, or on the side with Dylan Larkin, but he's not like a driver, or he's not. Like, if you put him with a guy like Lucas Raymond, I think it can help him. It can make him a better player, because Lucas Raymond can make every player beside him better, but also because his main strength is being physical and shooting the puck. So if you have a guy like Lucas Raymond who can distribute the puck to him, it might help him. But is he naturally a top 6 player on his own? I highly doubt that. So, they are a little bit behind the playoff right now, and I think they don't necessarily have what it takes to take that step. Unless Gibson changes everything for them and he's like lights out and he just blocks everything. And for some reason, they achieve the playoff because of that. The problem is that even if they achieve making the playoff, how far are they going in the playoff and who's coming up to make them take that step and go further in the playoff? That is a question that I have. I think they don't have enough elite talent. They do have it on defense with Simon and Vedson and Moritz Seider, but I think up front, like basically the only star level player would be Lucas Raymond, in my opinion. Even though I like Dylan Larkin, I don't think he's a star level player. So yeah, if we go here, like we could say on their way, because I think basically the Red Wings are probably somewhere on the middle here. They are a little bit on their way because they're about to reach a playoff. But I think that once they reach a playoff, they don't have enough to actually take a step, a big step. Because between making the first the first round of the playoff and making it to the Stanley Cup final, there's a giant gap, and I don't think the Red Wings have what it takes to actually get player into the lineup to get there. So I'm gonna put them in need work, and basically what they need is a star level player. It's not more depth. It's not more physical player or more aggressive player or stuff like that. They need another star level player that can make plays and make people better around them. And the next rebuild to take a look at is the Columbus Blue Jacket. I think they are not that far. Like basically they were fighting with the Habs until the last game for who was going to go into that playoff spot and play against Washington. They finished ninth. The Habs finished eighth. They had 89 points. The Habs had 91 points. So really, they are like just a little bit behind the Habs in terms of where they finished last year. At the time of making the card, they had $16 million in cap space, but now they have 15 million. So, well, I mean, 15.5 is 16 million. So that is good. They have 43 contracts, and they have 11 contracts expiring in 2 years, giving them 46 million in 26-27 to sign their players. If we look at that roster, and it's a good roster in my opinion, they have Sean Monahan, who's like having a second life over there. I wish the Habs kept him, especially for that price, because he's been so good for Columbus. Yes, he's a little bit fragile. Maybe he gets hit at some point and that hip breaks and then he's never coming back again. But I think he's signed for a pretty decent contract. It's 5.5 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, exactly. 5.5, 4 more years. I think it's such a great contract for such a good player with such like good personality and leadership in the room. I wish we just kept him, or maybe he didn't want to sign here to sign in Montreal. I don't know, but I would have loved him to stay there. Would have fixed our 2C position for sure. Boone Jenner, the captain, who's like that energetic player. They have Kirill Marchenko, who's scoring goals. Adam Fantilli, who's obviously going to take that step and replace Sean Monahan on the first line. Ken Johnson, who finally like take a step offensively, even though he's never going to be like a playoff type of player, like physical and all this stuff. No, he's going to be like an offensively dynamic player. That's what he does. That's what he always did. He's a very, very skilled player, crazy hands. But still, at least he put up something like 60 points or something like that last season. So it's really good. Dmitry Voronkov, who's a good player, big player. Charlie Coyle on third line, really good. Mathieu Olivier can fight everybody. Cole Sillinger is a player that I like more than most people like. I think he has a step that he can take. But if he plays like another like 11, 12 minutes like last year, I don't know if he can take that step with that level of ice time. You have Yegor Shinikov too, who's trying to have a spot in the lineup, and I think he asked for a trade if I'm not mistaken, so we'll see how that goes. In terms of defense, they have Dante Fabro, who they just re-signed, and they have star power in Zach Werenski. They also drafted Denton Matejchuk 13 overall, and I think he's going to be a good player. They have Ivan Provorov, who's probably overpaid, but still he's been good for them. Damon Stevenson, Eric Goodbranson, who's just okay. And in the goalie, they have Jet Greaves, who had a great season last year, if I'm not mistaken, and Merzlikins. So I think like the roster at the NHL level is playoff ready, definitely, because just with Adam Fantilli taking another step, I don't remember how many points he had last season. It's not that much, but actually, you know what? We're just gonna go here and see. We'll go stats. I want to know. So franchise, if we go here and we go Columbus Blue Jackets. So Shaman. Adam Fantilli, 54 points, 31 goals in 82 games. I think he's going to take a big step from there, probably go into the 65, 70 points. And he's that type of guy that's also going to be very good for the team in the playoffs. So overall, the NHL roster is really good. And when you look at what they have coming, they have a player like Kaden Lindstrom that they drafted fourth overall, I think, third or fourth overall. Has been injured a lot, but I mean, he's still Caden Lindstrom. He's still a big 6'4" player who's powerful, who's extremely fast, has a big shot, who's very, very physical, extremely hard to play against around the net. Like, it's still the same player. So unless like the injuries kind of come back up and or the injuries like stop him from being the player that he wants to be, outside of that, Kenan Lindstrom is still going to be an amazing player in the NHL, and he's still going to be very, very hard to play against. And when you have a top line with Adam Fantilli as your first center and a second line with Kenan Lindstrom as your second center, I mean, it's back to back in your face, hard to play against players. So I think that's really good. Outside of that, they just drafted Jackson Smith for the defense, so that's going to help that defense. It's going to take a little bit of time because Jackson Smith is not there yet, and he might not be there for at least 2-3 years because he's a little bit all over the place. But still, it's a player with potential. He makes me think a little bit of Sam Rinzel in Chicago, in the sense that Sam Rinzel, when he was drafted at the end of the first round, he was a project for sure. Like, he was a big time project, and then you look at him, what he did last season in the NCAA and a couple games that he played in the NHL, and he's been really good. So I expect kind of same type of development for Jackson Smith. They have Andreanov that they just take. Outside of that, Luca Del Belbaluz gonna need to take a step with that skating. It's still not that good, but I mean, he's a very talented player, Luca Morelli. So I think they have a good mix of high-end player like Caden Lindstrom coming up and Jackson Smith coming up, but they also have some players like Andreanov and Del Belbaluz, Morelli, Charlie Elick, all coming up too. So, yeah, I think I'm not sure it's the best rebuild. I'm not sure it's the best rebuild there, but definitely they are on their way here. Yeah, I think they are like on the line a little bit. That's where they are, but I will put them here so we don't have too many in the best rebuilds, but they are very, very close to being one of the best rebuilds in my opinion, because they are on their way to the playoff and on their way to contend, and they have some serious player coming up. And the next one is the Seattle Kraken. The Kraken, they finished 13th in the West last season with 76 points. In terms of cap space, do they have a lot? No, they have 4.9 million in cap space, and they have 46 contract. They have about 5 contract expiring in the next 2 years, so it's not that much, but 43 million expected in 26-27. When we take a look at that roster, it's okay. I don't have much else to say. Honestly, they have some good players. Matty Beniers, their first line center. They acquired Capo Caco, who's been really good for them compared to what he was in New York. Jaden Schwartz is a very good player. There's no way around it. Jared McCann is another very good player. Chandler Stevenson didn't have a great season. He still put up like 50-something points, but didn't have a great season whatsoever, and he signed at 6.5 for a while. Jordan Eberle is not the player that he used to be. Shane Wright is a player on the way up, so I think Shane Wright should probably switch with Chandler Stevenson at some point this season. I think he's going to be a good second line center or low end first line center. And then they have players like Mason Marchman, Eli Tolvanen, Frédéric Gaudreau, Johnny Nyman, who I think is not a fourth line player. He's probably going to take a step here. But overall, the attack is fine. There's no star level player. Like, they have a lot of second line level player. Even Manny Beniers did not have, he hasn't been so great right now. So we'll see how it goes, but overall for now, it's looking a little bit rough. Like, it's good because they have a lot of depth of player who can put up 50, 60 points, but they don't have any star power in there. After that, on defense, basically their best defenseman is Vince Dunn, and I think that's a little bit of a problem. Adam Larson, very good defensively. Brendan Montour, I really like him. Riker Evans, I think he's a player on the way up. Ryan Lindgren is just Ryan Lindgren, and Jamie Oleksiak is basically non-factor. So defense is rough. I think the right side here with Larson, Montour, and Riker Evans is pretty decent. I think Vince Dunn is a good player. I think he should probably just not be your best defenseman. So it's not great, but it's good at least. Like, it's not terrible. It's not San Jose Shark terrible or something like that. So it's okay. And in the net they have Joey Dacard and Philip Grubauer, which could improve obviously because it has not been so great. So and what they have in the lineup, the thing is they drafted a little bit weird because their problem is definitely not at center. But now their best prospect is basically Berkeley Catton in my opinion. Even though they just drafted Jake O'Brien, I love Jake O'Brien, but Berkeley Catton makes can do everything that Jake O'Brien does, but he can do it at full speed. Like Jake O'Brien is bigger, but he cannot speed. Cannot skate at the same speed as Berkeley Catton. And everything that he does, he has to slow down the game to do it. Berkeley Catton for the last 2 years could do everything that Jake O'Brien can do, but he does it like full tilt. So that's a major difference for NHL production, in my opinion. But Jake O'Brien is right here at number 2, so I think he's like their second best prospect. But outside of that, like what do they have coming up? They have Carson Rakoff, who's been pretty good. Johnny Nyman, like I said, I think he's not a four-time player. I think he's higher than that. Julius Mietinen, a player that I really liked in the draft here, that I still really liked, but he's a bottom six player. He's not a player that's going to play on your top six, but he's going to be a player that's going to help your bottom six to be hard to play against. Like Edward Shala, is he ever going to play in the NHL? I have no clue. He's an enigma. Dragicevic, Molgard, so like the pipeline is fine because of Catton and Jake O'Brien, but like they don't have any defense to come help them. Like there's nothing coming up in the defense, so they will need to acquire a player to actually make that defense better. And I think that's going to be a problem. They don't have also a major goalie coming up, so that's going to be another problem. I don't know, man. I'm not a fan. I don't know where they're going. I don't know what's the plan or if they even have a plan. Um, my thing here got deleted for some reason, so I like rearranged it. But this is on their way. This is best rebuilds. This is needs work, and this is it's not it. And I think the Kraken are in. It's not it. Yeah, I like. They're probably like on the fence here, but like if I had to take the Red Wings rebuilds or the Kraken rebuilds, I think the Red Wings is still a significant step above the Kraken. So yeah, man, it's just not it. So too bad. And the next one is the New Jersey Devils, which is an exciting team, and I'm not exactly sure why they can't take the next step. But the New Jersey Devils right here, they finished seventh in the East with 91 points, which is basically equal with the Habs. In terms of cap space, they had 6 million at the time, but if we go here, they still have 6 million. They have 47 contracts signed, but 25 million coming up in 26, 27, and basically 7 contract expiring in the next 2 years. If we take a look at that roster, I mean, Jack Hughes obviously is the mega star player of that team. Jesper Bratt, who's probably just as good as Jack Hughes or just as dynamic. They also have second line center, like probably the best second line center in the entire NHL with Nico Hischier, who could be a first line center all day long. They have very good wingers like Timo Myers. Dawson Mercer, who's not so bad too. They have Arseny Gritsyuk, who's did really, really good in the KHL. We'll see how it goes in the NHL. But still a talented player. Paul Cotter that they acquired. Cody Glass, who's like a non-factor. Evgeny Dadonov, who's just okay. So, like, the top six is fine. It's good. Like, they have a lot of very good, like, they have 4 extremely good players that they just need to surround with players that can actually finish or actually help them, like, maybe do the dirty work or something like that. But Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, Timo Meyer, that's a very good top six, like I said. On the defensive side, they have Brendan Dillon, who's good. Dougie Hamilton, who's good. Luke Hughes, who's good. Brett Pesci, who's good. So it's going pretty good. Jonas Siegenthaler and Simon Nemec. Then they just signed Kovacevic to like a 4 or 5 year contract or something like that. So I'm not sure if Nemec is in there or like one of them is going to have to go because I'm pretty sure they didn't sign Kovacevic not to play him. And they just signed him to, a 5 year contract at $4 million. So, damn it, who's not signed for a long term? Like Brendan Dillon? Well, one of them is going to have One of them is going to have to take a step down, I guess. But yeah, in terms of defense, I mean, Dougie Hamilton is a really good player. Brett Pesci is mostly defensive player, but he's really good, and he can actually like help Luke Hughes do his thing because he's a little bit of a risky player, but he's still a good player, very good offensively. Brendan Dillon kind of does the same thing for Dougie Hamilton, and Jonas Sigenthaler and Kovacevic can be pretty good together too. I don't think Simon Nemec is making the team, and I'm not sure if he's going to be happy about it. After that, in the net, we have Jacob Markstrom and Jake Allen, who both can be really, really good. I think Jake Allen is a good backup, and Jacob Markstrom can be a very good starter. So the net is not a problem. Why they haven't been this like productive and why they haven't been this good, I don't know. Like the last 2 years, like they finished seventh, but equal with the Habs, which made the playoff like on their last game. So it's not like it's a big accomplishment. And the year before that, they were not in the playoff. So what's missing? Is it the injuries the problem? Like what is missing to make that team take that next step and actually be a contender? That is a little bit of what my question is. When we look at the prospect, uh, they have Simon Nemec, who's like probably should be an NHL player by now, but they don't really necessarily have a spot for him. They have Anton Selayev, who's going to come in a couple of years, who's going to anchor a pair defensively. He's a little bit all over the place defensively and offensively, but he's like a 6'7" giant who can skate like the wind, so that's gonna help them. In net, they have Yegorov, who's really, really good in my opinion. Gritsyuk can really help them this season. Seamus Casey, they don't really have a spot for him. They don't have a spot for anybody on that defense. Amin Aho is a good player. Squire is a good player. So yeah, they have some good players. They don't really necessarily have a cap problem because it seems like most of their big star player are signed. Like if you look at Timo Meier signed for a while, Jack Hughes signed for a while, Jesper Bratt signed for a while. Where's Nico Hischier? Nico Hischier has only 2 years left on his deal, and then he's a UFA. Man, I would love Nico Hischier on the Habs. That would be great. But I don't think he's going anywhere. It's just I'm not so sure exactly what they need to do to take that next step. For some reason, they have like a good roster, but it's not working really good. So, is it the coach? Is it the goaltending that's not been so good? Is it the injuries? Is the team not gelling together? I don't know. Maybe it's the bottom six. I don't know. On them to figure it out. Overall, I cannot put them in the best rebuilds, even though I think they have. It's one of the team with the highest potential, in my opinion, because of the star power that they have in that team is just incredible on defense and in offense. But it hasn't worked, and they had those players for the last 2 years. It's not like Timo Meier's a new player or Hamilton's a new player or Luke Hughes or yes, he's young, but I mean he's not a new player. So Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier. So they didn't accomplish much with that core. So for that reason, they are going on their way. Does that make sense? They can't be a best rebuild because they've been rebuilding for a while. They have a lot of very, very good player, first overall type player, but they're still not making it. So it can't be a best rebuild, at least not in my opinion. And the next one is the Ottawa Senators. And if we look at them, they finished sixth in the East with 97 points. In terms of cap space, they had 4 million at the time, and now they have 2.7 million, so basically 3 million in terms of contract. They have 43 contract. 31 million expected in 26-27 and 10 contracts expiring in the next 2 years. If we take a look at that roster, they have, in my opinion, probably the best roster of any team that's rebuilding right now. They also finished the highest of any team that's rebuilding right now. So that would be logical. They have Tim Stutzle as their first line center. I think that's perfect. Like he's not great defensively, but he's a very dynamic player offensively, and he's paired all the time with Brady Tkachuk, which is really good. They just acquired last year Fabian Zetterlund, who could maybe complement them. I don't know. I don't know if he's that good, but I mean, he's a good player who can score goals, but is he good enough to play on that line? We'll see about that. They acquired Dylan Cousin instead of Norris, which was always injured. Dylan Cousin was not always injured, but just couldn't basically do anything. But I think he's been pretty good for them. We'll see if he can keep going this way, or he's just that inconsistent, big and fast player that can't be consistent offensively and defensively. We'll see how it goes. Drake Batherson, who's another good player, 60 something points, very big, very fast, not very physical though. David Perron on that second line, I don't know. A really great player that I like. Shane Pinto, very, very good. If he's only a third line center, that's like really good. I think he's a good player. Claude Giroux right there on the third line. It's great, but at some point, Claude Giroux and David Perron, both those players are just not gonna play anymore because they are all Lars Eller. He's just not good anymore. Nick Cousin is just a little, Michael Amadio is Michael Amadio. On defense, they have Jake Sanderson, who's basically their big piece. It's the one player that anchor the whole defensive core. Adam Zub, underrated player. Thomas Chabot, he's good. He's okay. Like he's a good player. He's not a great player. He's not fantastic or anything like that. Nick Jensen really helped the team last season, I think. Jordan Spence is a little bit of a question mark. We'll see how it goes. And Tyler Clevin, well, it was his first year last year. We'll see if his second year is a little bit better, but he was not necessarily bad last year. He was okay. And in net, well, they have Linus Hillmark, who they are paying like $8 million for the next couple of years, and he's a really good goalie. So, I mean, I think in terms of roster, they are like I wouldn't say great yet. They are definitely missing like a top six player, like a big time top six player. Like David Perron or Fabian Zetterlund, I don't think there are two players that should be playing in that top six. Maybe Ridley Gregg is that player. Maybe Shane Pinto is that player. I don't know. But they need like another big time top six player because, yeah, basically. Unless Dylan Cousin really like takes another step, which I doubt he will. But it's not impossible. If we look at what did I do? Oh, yeah, okay. If we look here at what they have in the pipeline, they really don't have much in the pipeline, to put it simply. Basically, everything is in the NHL, but they have Carter Yakimchuk, who's going to come up. I don't know if he's playing this year. I don't know if he's playing next year, but he's a player that offensively is one of my favorite defensemen outside the NHL. He's probably not the best defenseman offensively outside of the NHL, because there are players like Cole Hudson and players like Zane Perek. Like he's definitely a step behind that. But the guy is a 6'3" guy who's physical, not necessarily great defensively, but he took a step last season. Basically, I think he focused on that in his season in the WHL. Didn't put as many points, but definitely a good player to come in that lineup for sure. It's gonna help them. Like I don't know who he's going to replace, but at some point, like Nick Jensen is not gonna play for them at some point, or maybe Jordan Spence is gonna go away. I don't know, but Carter Yakimchuk deserves a spot in there, and it's basically the only big piece they have, because outside of that, anything that's coming up, like after that, they have Logan Ensler, but Logan Ensler will need to see what he does next year, because for now, it's like the most vanilla possible player. Good skater, has size, but he's not aggressive, he's not physical, and he's not necessarily dynamic offensively. Doesn't do much. Like I wouldn't say not non-factor player, but he's a player that doesn't bring much. Like he's not gonna hurt your team. He's also not gonna help your team. Basically, they also have Blake Montgomery, who's a player that I really like. So we'll see how it goes. But overall, I mean, the team already had 97 points. They took like that step for the first time. And they have players like Carter Yakimchuk coming up, that there's nothing for the top six coming up, so they will need to acquire them. They don't necessarily have the space to acquire a player. Like next year, they have David Perron at $4 million. They're gonna need to sign Shane Pinto, and he's gonna do more than 3.7. Yeah, Claude Giroux, Lars Eller. So yeah, Nick Jensen. The cap situation is not optimal because of they will need to resign player, but they also have some players that are going to go, like David Perron, Claude Giroux, unless is Claude Giroux going to play next year? I don't know. So the cap situation is fine. It's not terrible or anything like that. It's just not great. They don't have a ton of space to acquire a big time player or anything like that. And they don't really have, like, they're missing something on the top six. So, and they have nothing in the pipeline coming for the top six. So, I think at this moment, they are like a best rebuild. because obviously they finished with 97 points, which is more than any other team out there. But they don't have enough coming up to make them take that next step. So because of that, I'll put them there. And I think that's fair because they have a great lineup. They just don't have a great prospect pool. They have nothing in the prospect pool outside of Carter Yakimchuk. And what they need is not necessarily another right shot D who can play offense. Like Sanderson is doing that. He's not a right shot D, but I mean, Sanderson can play offense. Same thing with Shabbat. Do they need another one that can do it? I'm not sure about it. So we'll see how that helps them. But I think on their way is pretty fair. And the next one is the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers, they finished 16th in the East last season with 76 points, which is not great whatsoever. In terms of cap space, I wrote zero. Is that really that? Yeah, it's actually $0 in cap space. Okay. They have 46 contract. They have 40 million expected though in 26-27. So some of those contracts are going to resolve themselves. So 13 contract expiring in the next 2 years. If we take a look at that roster, like it's a little bit all over the place, right? Sean Couturier was at a time a first line center. Injuries and everything slowed him down, and he's not there anymore, even though he's still an okay player. Obviously, Matvey Mishkov, Travis Konechny are the two best players for that team. They also just acquired Trevor Zegras for basically nothing. They have Owen Tippett. So on the wing, it's looking fine. And then they just paid a lot, like money, not trade, for Christian Dvorak for their 2C, which Christian Dvorak is nothing like a 2C. Like there's no world where he can be a 2C. Noah Cates, Tyson Forster, Bobby Brink, Nick Deslauriers on their fourth line. Like you look at that offensive core, and it's really rough, especially down the middle. Like down the middle, it's not just rough, it's terrible. But Matvey Mishkov can change everything. Travis Konechny is a almost point per game little blip. Little player that nobody likes. Very good player. I would love to have him. Trevor Zegras, we'll see. Like the thing is, Trevor Zegras has the potential to be a 70+ point player, but can he get back to that, or it was just like one season or two? I don't know. We'll see. But he has the skills to get there. Owen Tippett, big player, not very physical player, but he skates well and shoots the puck well. That's fine. Defensively, Cam York, Travis Sanheim. I like Travis Sanheim. Cam York is okay. He's not great, but he's fine. Jamie Drysdale, same thing. I thought he would be great, but he's not great. Noah Jolson, it's unfortunate. He's not great either. Nick Seeler, Igor Zamula. It's a little bit rough. The defense is definitely rough, but Cam York and Travis Sanheim plus Jamie Drysdale are all players that can play in the top four. But is that a serviceable or a strong top four? Like not by any mean outside of Travis Sanheim. And in net, they have Ryan Ellis. No, they have Samuel Ersson and Dan Vladar. So there is some potential in there. Samuel Ersson could be good. Dan Vladar, same thing. We'll see. Is Ristolainen coming out of injury? I don't know what's his injury right now. Does it say if I just put it out? No, it doesn't say anything. So we can add, what's his name? Ristolainen to the defensive core, replacing like Noah Jolson or something like that. I don't know, but it doesn't change much, right? It's not like he's going to change everything in there. When we look at the pipeline, there's Porter Martin, who's going to be like, it's another winger, right? But I think Porter Martin is a very, very good player. He's going to bring some power. He's not going to bring a ton of speed, but I don't think they necessarily need it. But he's going to bring a lot of power and brain on that ice. He's going to produce a lot of offense for them. He's going to be good defensively. He's going to be good along the board or behind the net or in front of the net. He's just a very complete player with tons of offensive upside, but he's a winger. After that, like the players that are coming up, like they have Zavragin in goal, who's a goalie that I really like, but their center line in the NHL is not good, but their center line in the pipeline is even worse. Like their best center is probably Jet Luchenko, and I think at best that's a middle six. Like if everything goes well, it's going to be a middle six center. but he's most likely to be like a third line center, in my opinion. Jack Nesbitt is a good player. He has skills. He's big, but he doesn't skate that well. Um, is he a top six player? Chances are very small that he's going to be a top six player. So I guess not necessarily looking good. They have on defense, they have Oliver Bonk, who's going to be coming up. So that's going to be great. I say it all the time. Every time I talk about Oliver Bonk, I think it's fair that we should not expect the same type of production because so many of his goals came from the bumper. And when I said that last time, somebody told me, no, he didn't play in the bumper this season. And it's absolutely false because he did play in the bumper. And if you look, actually, his shot map and his goal map, like 75% of his goals are in the bumper. So, I mean, it's not gonna happen in the NHL. So like if you want him to produce, you gotta like at the NHL level, you gotta look at what he's doing. That's NHL level hockey. Like if they do something in junior, it's not going necessarily to happen in the NHL. So unless they want to try it, I don't know. But outside of that, they don't have much. Shane Benzagi is going to be a good player, but that's a bottom six player. It's not a top six player whatsoever. Alex Bump has been really good too. Carter and Miko, really not my favorite. So, like, I think like the major problem here is going to be the center line. I think they have good wingers here, and they have another very good winger coming up in Porter Martone. But Sean Couturier cannot be your first line center, and you have nothing to replace it. Like Jet Luchenko is not going to be a first line center. I mean, he can, but if he is, it's a major problem. Same thing for Jack Nesbitt, unless like some magic happen or something like that. But you can't really count on that. So yeah, I'm not sure where they're going. I'm really not sure where they're going. Um, and they finished. Where did they finish? I said they finished 16th in the East. Wash. 76 points. So if we go like, if we take the entire NHL points, where were they? 28th. Okay. Yeah. I was going to say like needs work, but I think it's a little bit more than needs work. So we're going to put it in right here. Like obviously, again, I'll take my example of the Red Wings. Like obviously the Red Wings are like in the middle here, so they could be on their way too. But I put him in needs work. But the thing is, if you compare the Red Wings to the Flyers, like the Red Wings are so much closer to being a competitive team than the Flyers. Yes, the Flyers have a better player in Matvei Mishkov, but how much better is he to Lucas Raymond? I'm not exactly sure. But then the Red Wings, they have like Marco Casper and they have Dylan Larkin for the first seed. They have Nate Danielson coming up. The defense is just so much better. Like there's just so much more to work with in Detroit that there is in Philadelphia. So there's no way I can put Philadelphia at the same level that I can put Detroit. Maybe I just should have put Detroit on their way. I don't know. But then at the same time, can I put Detroit equal with the Sens or equal with the Devils or equals with the Jackets, the Ducks, and the Sharks? I don't think so either. So finally, that ranking is pretty good. And the next one on this list is the Montreal Canadiens. If we take a look at their cap situation and standing situation, they made the playoff on their last game, like I said earlier. And they had, at the moment of creating that card, they were like minus $3 million in cap space. But they traded Carey Price for a fifth round pick, which was amazing. Again, just Kent Hughes doing his thing. So right now they have 5.6 million right here. So I think the cap situation is great. We have like obviously Patrick Laine, who's paid $8.7 million. If he resigns with the Montreal Canadiens next year, he's not going to be at $8.7 million. It just doesn't make sense whatsoever unless he becomes a star level player, which I don't think he can. I mean, he can be a good player, but can he come back to whatever he was like when he was in Winnipeg? I highly doubt it. And outside of that, yeah. All right. So, like I said, $5.6 million in cap space, 43 contracts signed. They have $39 million in 26-27 with obviously players like Josh Henderson and Brendan Gallagher coming off the cap. They have 43 contract right now, but 10 expiring in the next 2 years. Maybe they want to re-sign Mike Matheson. Maybe they don't. I don't know what's going to happen. It doesn't really matter for now. If we take a look at the roster, I think that's a strong roster. It's just there's a little bit, there's a few problems in there. Like obviously the first line of Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and Uri Slafkovsky is going to keep going together. They were one of the best line in hockey last year. There's probably still going to be one of the best line in hockey this year. So there's no way to break that up. You have an elite first line, you keep it like that. You have an elite first line center, elite right wing, and a guy that's on his way up for the left wing. I'm not sure if we can say he's elite, but he might get there. And then on the second line, you have a player like Ivan Demidov, who's going to be a superstar in this league. We don't have a second line center. Like for now, it's Kirby Dach or Alex Newhook or whatever the hell. But none of them for now are to see. Like it's possible that Kirby Dach can actually become that player. It's really not impossible. It's just that he hasn't proven that he can be that consistently, or that even that he can stay healthy. So if he stays healthy and he takes like a good jump in his game defensively and offensively, and maybe he's like a 45-point player. If he's a 45-point player, can win his face-off, and can play decent defensively, we're talking about a second-line center. We're talking about a guy like Barrett Hayton, basically. So that would be great. That would be fantastic. And then I'm not sure if we're going to have Zach Bolduc or we're going to have Patrick Laine. I'm pretty sure they're going to want to have a guy like Ivan Demidov feeding Patrick Laine. That would be my opinion. But then you have Zach Bolduc with Alex Newhook, Speedy Boy, and Oliver Kapanen or whatever. And then Jake Evans, Brendan Gallagher, and Josh Anderson. Super expensive fourth line, but an amazing fourth line. Basically, who's going to play the minutes of a third line or maybe even the second line. On the defense, they have Caden Gooley with Noah Dobson. Caden Gooley on his own is not a first-line player, but he's definitely a top-4 player. But he can insulate a player like Noah Dobson, who doesn't necessarily need insulation, but more like Noah Dobson is a creative player who will use his skating and his skills to create offense. Not at the same level as Lane Hudson, but still he can do it. So sometimes you need a player that can actually stay back a little bit, and that is going to be Caden Gooley. Gooley is like a 30-point-something defenseman in his prime, but that can play very physical. He's very good skater. He's just very good defensively. And then you have Noah Dobson on his side. That's just an amazing pair. Lane Hudson and Jaden Struble. Like Lane Hudson on his own is just really, really good. But the things that paired with Jaden Struble last year was an amazing pair. If you look at advanced metrics, Jaden Struble and Lane Hudson was like one of the top pair in the NHL, which makes no sense. But Lane Hudson is a superstar, and Jaden Struble is, I don't know, like a third pair defenseman, but it worked well together. And then Alex Carrier, who changed everything for the Habs when they traded for him and gave away Barron, who couldn't do anything. And Mike Matheson, who, I mean, on the third line, you have Mike Matheson. That's just amazing in terms of value. I think the defensive core is really, really strong. And then in net, you have Sam Montembeault, who was playing on his head all season. You will probably need another season like that for the Habs to make the playoff again. But I mean, that's what he's been doing for the last 2 years or so. He's been really good. He's been playing, like, if you take his goal saves above expected goals, he's like at the top of the NHL. And then Jacob Dobish came and replaced Kaden Primo and did the job really well. It's a little bit inconsistent, but there are games where he was really, really good. Some games where he was a little bit all over the place. But overall, for first year in the NHL, I think he did great. So the lineup is good. Like it's probably not as good as the Ottawa Senator. I'm not exactly sure if it's as good, because the Ottawa Senator, their center line is really good because of Tim Stutzla, and then they have who's the guy? Dylan Cousin, and then on the third line they have Shane Pinto. Like, we have no Cousins here and we have no Pinto here, so it's a bit so we're missing that part, I think. But the defense, I prefer the Habs defense with Kaden Gooley, Noah Dobson, Lane Hudson. I would take that every day of the day before I take the Ottawa's defense. But up front, I'm not exactly sure yet. It depends how Patrick Laine goes. It depends if Kirby Dach can take a step or not. If he can't, then yeah, it's not going to look well. In the pipeline, if we take a look here, we have players like who? We have Jacob Fowler is going to come in the net. Zach Bolduc is going to be really, really good. It's not a prospect, but he's a player that we just acquired. We have Michael Hage, who could be he could be a top 6 player, just like could be a middle 6 player. For now, I'm more like middle 6. Not exactly sure he's going to be a top 6 player yet, but we'll see how it goes. For now, I think he's good. Jarowski, who's a project for sure. He's not going to be here for a little while, but he's a good player with tons and tons of skills. I think he's going to play, and if he plays, he might be a top 6 player, so that's really good. Adam Engstrom doing really well in the AHL. Oliver Kapanen is probably going to play in the NHL this season, who had a very good season in the SHL last season, so that's really good. Arbor Jacki, Florian Jacki, and then we also have our little boy LG Mooney, who's going to destroy the NCAA. So we'll see how it goes. But I think overall it's great. Like the lineup plus the prospect pool, yeah, it's great because that lineup is already a playoff lineup. And then you take the prospect pool and you have one of the top prospect pool. Is there like you have Ivan Demidov in there, right? I mean, he's probably the best prospect outside of the NHL. Like I would take Ivan Demidov over Michael Misa for sure. Maybe not over Schaefer, but even then, I think I would probably do anyway. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah. So I think because they made the playoff and because of the prospect pool altogether, there's no choice. Like they made a playoff with 91 points, and now they just added Noah Dobson, and they're adding Ivan Demidov, and they're adding Zach Bolduc to that lineup. And in the end, what they lost is Christian Dvorak and Joel Armia. Like, yeah, when you say it like that, you can't really put them anywhere else than there. Like playoff plus they're adding like one of the top 10 right shot defensemen in the NHL and the best or second best prospect in the entire NHL. So yeah, that's great. And next is the Buffalo Sabres, the team that's been rebuilding forever and might keep rebuilding forever. Who knows? If we take a look at that, well, they finished 14th in the East with 79 points, so that is not good whatsoever. In terms of cap space, at the moment of that did that, they had 6 million. But if we take a look here, yeah, 5 million. So not 6, but 5, 44 contracts. So that's not a problem. They are expected to have 26-27 to have $25 million available. And they have 9 contracts expiring in the next 2 years. If we look at the roster of the Buffalo Sabres, I cannot believe that they would put Yuri Kulik as their first line center. It just doesn't make sense. Like he played last year in the NHL. That was his first year. He's not even close to be a first line center. Like, yeah, not close whatsoever. So, I mean, you put back Tage Thompson there, probably, I would say, or maybe Josh Norris if he's like in good condition. But if not, at the worst, you put Ryan McLeod there. Like, you don't want to have Yuri Kulich as your first line center. That would be terrible. But anyways, they do whatever they want if they think that's the way to go forward. But overall, Zach Benson, I think it's a guy that we can expect him to take a step. I think they're a little bit ruining his development in the NHL way too early. Did not have a significant step from season 1 to season 2. We hope at least that he's going to have a step in his third season. I think he's a smart player. I think he's a feisty player, but he's still a 5'9", 5'10" player that doesn't have great speed, does have good edges though, so that's fine. But like, yeah, for now, like he's on the first line, but he's not a first line player whatsoever. Jason Zucker, meh. Josh Norris can be really good when he's healthy, like crazy shot, like just a very, very good player if he's healthy. Alex Tuch, very good player. Ryan McLeod is a very good second line center. I think like much better than Yuri Kulich, that's for sure. Jack Quinn could take a step. It's a player that was drafted in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken, and he has top 10 type of skills. A lot of injuries. We'll see how it goes. Peyton Krebs is a non-factor. Jordan Greer is a non-factor. Justin Danforth is a non-factor. Josh Doan could be a good player. Like, he hasn't produced that much, but I think he's a player that has a little bit of feistiness in him. Could definitely be a good player on that third line, so that is good. And defensively, well, they have Rasmus Dahlin. They have Bowen Byram, so like, I think they're good together, but I think basically anybody's good with Rasmus Dahlin. Like, Rasmus Dahlin is one of the best defensemen in the entire NHL. So yeah, anybody beside him is going to be really good. It's a little bit like Jaden Struble and Lane Hudson. Like, Lane Hudson is obviously driving that pair and made Jaden Struble? Yeah, Jaden Struble much better than he is on his own, right? But outside of that, they also have Owen Power, who's he's good. He's he's not my favorite, but I think he's a good player. I think he's a player that has first pair potential. He put up like 40 something points last season, or 40 points on the nose. I'm not exactly sure, but Yeah, it's a good player. Michael Kesselring that they just acquired, I think that is good for them. Finally, a right shot defenseman. Matthias Samuelson and Connor Timmins. I mean, I think everybody expected a little bit more from Matthias Samuelson, and it just hasn't worked. But that defense of Rasmus Dahlin, Bowen Byram, Owen Power, and Michael Kesselring is an elite defense. Like there's no way, there's no other way. It's like Michael Kassaring is just going to be in his second season, but he had a great first season. But he's probably going to be more of a defensive defenseman than an offensive defenseman, especially for Buffalo because they have so much firepower with those three other defensemen. But I think he will really round up that top four and really, really help them. Um, Great acquisition. Like it costs a lot. Like obviously a winger like JJ Peterka, 70 something points. It's a like it's a very expensive price to pay to get a player like Michael Kesselring in his first season, and you hope that he can reproduce it, and it was not like a one and done, but overall, like that defense is great, but that offense is not so great at all. Yeah, no, it's not great. So, and what they have coming up in the pipeline, well, they just took Radin Merka. So basically, they are working on that defense because they know that it's been a problem. Even though they have top tier player, they know that the defense been a problem. So taking Radin Merka was a good decision. Yuri Kulich is going to take a step. I just, like I said, I don't think he's a first line center. They have also Consta Elenius, who's a very good player, who's going to be probably a top six playmaker. Noah Hoslin, Adam Kleber, who's a defenseman that I really like, and I think he took a big step last season. So I think Buffalo's going to be happy with Adam Kleber, another right shot defenseman that is like 6'5", 6'6", good defensively, can move the puck. That's great. Devon Levi, he was good. Is he still good? We'll see. Rosen, Wahlberg, Ukopeka Lekonen, Sturback, like they have a good pipeline, and they have an okay, like the thing is that they have an elite defensive core, but they have like not a great offensive core. They have a lot of players that could have been like Jack Quinn could have been a great one. Um, Tage Thompson is definitely great. Yuri Kulich could get there. Like he's been really good in the AHL the years before. Zach Benson could get there. Jason Zucker is not that for sure. So Josh Norris could be a very good player, but it depends if he can stay out here or not. So there's so many like question mark like in there when you look at that. How many players can you tell yourself that are actual top six player for sure all season long? Like Alex Tuck, Tage Thompson, Ryan McLeod. That's it. Josh Norris, you don't know if he plays. Yuri Kulich is not there. Zach Benson, you don't know if he's there. Like there's three players, and none of like Tage Thompson is a star level player in terms of shooting the puck and stuff, but yeah, it's rough. It's rough, but at least they worked on what they needed to. By adding Josh Doan, they're adding a little bit of feistiness in their lineup. On defense, they added a right shot defenseman that's big, that's mobile, that can defend at a high level. So they are working on it. I just don't think they are still there, and I think they are missing some pop offensively. And offensively, like all their players are very much the same. Like from Noslin to is that Austin's on Noslin? From Oslin to Consta Elenius to Rosen. It's like, yeah, so needs work. I don't think they are on their way. I think they could reach the playoff because of that elite defensive core. So that's not really a problem. I think they're gonna have to work to add some pop offensively, and they just traded like one of their, if not like outside of Thompson, it's probably their best offensive player, and they just traded him. So I don't know, like how's that gonna work? Maybe I'm completely wrong though. Who knows? And the last one, but not the least, we are talking about the Chicago Blackhawks. The Blackhawks, it was rough last season, 15th in the West, and I don't think they had 97 points. I don't know why I wrote 97 points, but it was 61 points, if I'm not mistaken. In terms of cap space, it's really not going to be a problem. Like if we look at that, they have $17.6 million in cap space, 40 contracts. I think they have 13 contracts coming up in the next 2 years, 71 million available expected in 26-27. So the cap situation is really, really not an issue. They basically look like a team that just started rebuilding and on their roster and in their cap situation, and it is what it is. If we take a look at that roster, obviously, Connor Bedard is the star of the show. He's a guy that could be like a top 10 player in the NHL or something around that. Yes, he's small, but he's dynamic with his hands, dynamic with his feet, has a crazy shot, very good playmaker. Like, he can drive a first line, no problem. I think he might be like a Jack Hughes level of player, or maybe even a little bit above that. I don't know. Like, the first two seasons didn't go as well as we expected, but at the same time, it's not like he's surrounded by a lot of talent. So maybe it's normal. We'll see. Maybe he takes a step. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know, but I think he's going to be a star no matter what. And they also have Frank Nazar, who's a good player, even very good player. Like, he's feisty, he's very fast, he goes to the middle, he's very skilled, can make plays. Like, I think he's a guy that will be like a 60 point, maybe second line center for them, but that's not a big center line. But outside of that, Tuvo Teravainen, Tyler Bertuzzi, Andrei Burakovsky, Ryan Donato, they just resigned. Oliver Moore, like, that roster up front is rough. Like, it's really, really rough. I don't know why Tuvo Teravainen signed there. Like, what was the point? Like, I don't know. Anyways, defensive, I think it's going to be a little bit better because Alex Vlasic is a very good defenseman. Sam Rinzel is going to be a very good defenseman. I think there's going to be like a little bit of a learning curve, obviously, like any defenseman who just comes in the NHL. But I think he's going to be good. He's very mobile. He's very big. I think he can read plays defensively and offensively pretty well. Artyom Levshunov, who's going to be probably their power play like quarterback, can play on the top four. Was not always clean in the NHL last season, but the guy went from like Belarusia to USHL to NCAA to AHL to NHL and all this in like 15 months or like 24 months or something like that. So I think he's going to get there. It's not a problem. I think he's going to be a good player. Is he going to be like a number one defenseman on his own? I'm not sure I'm there. I was never there, so it's not like I'm changing my opinion. It's just I was never there myself. But in Artyom Levshunov and Sam Rinzel, I think their right side is locked. And now they have like Alex Vlasic. They also have Korchinski. So like they have some good players. And in terms of net, they have Spencer Knight and Arvid Soderblom. So I think that can be good. Spencer Knight is not a bad player at all. Arvid Soderblom could be good. So the roster is obviously very bad, but at the same time there are some potential in there. But if we look at the players coming up, obviously they just drafted Anton Frondel, so it could be a top 6 player for them. I don't think that's a 1C. I don't think he has what it takes to be a 1C. I never saw him that way, but at the same time I could be wrong. And he's very good. Like, obviously his shot is fantastic. I think he's really good in small area too, so he's very good to fight for the puck, keep the puck, and move the puck in small area. Boisvert, who's been almost a point per game in the NCAA in his first season, that was very good. He's a big player. He has a big shot. Oliver Moore, very good skater. I'm not sure if he has that much offense, but he's a very good skater. And in the worst case, he's going to be like your third line center, and he's going to play on your penalty kill, and he's going to create a lot of odd man rush with his speed. Nick Lardis, like 70 goals in the WHL. Was it WHL? Yeah. Okay. So it says 70 goals or OHL. Wait, I don't know. I don't remember. Is he OHL or WHL? I don't remember. But Nick Lardis, OHL. Yeah. Okay. So Nick Lardis, 70 goals, something like that. I don't think it translates to the NHL all that much, but I think he's going to be a good player. Vaclav Nestrasil, Vanaker, Mason West, Colton Dock, and Nathan Bam, Kanserov, Aegis Pelosi. Like they have a lot of depth, but it's gonna take a very long while for them to get there because a lot of those players are not even close to be NHL players. Like if you take Nestrazel or you take Mason West, they are years away. Vanaker is like a little feisty player with speed, with skills. He could play maybe next year. Maybe he makes it. I don't think he makes it this year, but he could play next year. Like Like the thing is, it's just okay. Like everything under, like Boisvert is like a limit top six player or middle six player, and everything under him are not players that I'm big fan of. Like I think they are players. Some of them might make it to a top six, but most of them are not top six caliber player, at least in my opinion. So when I look at that, I feel like they are missing a big part because right now in their top six they have Connor Bedard, Frank Nazar. They're going to have Anton Frandel, but you're missing something, and that something is that something Boisvert? Is that something like one of the other player, like Oliver Moore, Nickel Ardis, Nestrazel, maybe? Like none of them are star level player. So basically, your only star player is Connor Bedard. Like you're going to need a lot more than that offensively to be a strong team. I think the defense is kind of taking care of itself. Like the top four of Alex Vlasic, Sam Rinzel, Artem Levshunov, and Korchinski in the future is going to be good enough, or even very good. But that offense is very rough, in my opinion. So I'm not a biggest fan. I'm really not a biggest fan of that rebuild as of right now. I think they have a lot of depth, but I think they might end up a little bit like Detroit. And Detroit is in needs work. And for now, I'll put them in needs work. Yeah. But depends. That defense is really good. Uh, let's say it's on the fence here, okay? But needs work. That's how I see it for now. I think they are very far from competing, and basically that list is like who can compete in the next couple of years or in the next 5 years or something like that. I'm not trying to look out like in 10 years is going to be good. Like obviously the Hawks, if they keep adding star player in 10 years, they will be good, but they are so far away. Some of their players are far away from the NHL. They don't have enough star power whatsoever. That defense is good, but it still needs to. Like Sam Rinzel will play his first year in the NHL. Artem Levshunov played like 16 games in the NHL, so it's not like he's a veteran out there. Korchinski played in the NHL and then was sent back in the AHL because he was terrible in the NHL. So like there's such a big step to be taken by so many players. Like Frank Nazar is going to play only his second year. Anton Frandel, I don't know if he plays in the NHL, if he stays in Sweden or something like that. Probably in Sweden, I'm guessing. Like those are all years away from being good players. So it's hard to see them being competitive because they don't have the other star player right now. Like they will probably acquire it because they will probably be at the bottom of the NHL. There's no way that team is competitive. But yeah. All right. So yeah, I think needs work is perfect. So basically the best rebuilds for me are the Habs and the Mammoth. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with that or even call me a homer. Personally, the Habs made the playoff and they have a crazy pipeline. So even if you compare with a team like the Sens, who also made the playoff, like with the pipeline for the Habs, it's just like that much better than the Sens. And the Mammoth were basically equal with the Habs in terms of production, and they have so much coming up, like players like Caleb Desnoyers and Tige Ginla and Maverick Lamoureux. They have so much coming up that it's just not funny. So I think it makes sense. A lot of team on their way in the Devils, the Sharks, the Sens, the Ducks, the Jackets. Some teams that needs work in the Red Wings need some stars. Sabres up front, I don't know what's going to be. The Hawks, they need to add more star power. The Flyers, I don't know where they're going, and the Kraken, I don't know where they're going. So yeah, that is it. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next one. Peace.